In every decision, every moment, and every action, we are faced with choices that shape not only our lives but the world around us. One of the most profound truths in this regard is captured in the statement, "The standard you walk past is the standard you accept." This principle isn't just a motivational slogan, it's a life philosophy that challenges us to actively shape our environment rather than passively accept it. It calls us to take ownership of our surroundings, our relationships, and our personal integrity. Understanding the weight of your choices at its core, this phrase speaks to the idea that inaction can be as powerful as action. When we see something that doesn't align with our values and we choose to ignore it, we are, in essence, endorsing it. This could be anything from witnessing unethical behavior at work and saying nothing, to seeing someone mistreated and not intervening. Our silence or inaction in these moments isn't neutral, it's a decision that reinforces the status quo. Imagine walking past a piece of litter on the ground. You might think it's just a small piece of trash and someone else will pick it up. But in that moment, you've accepted that standard for your environment. Now, consider the cumulative effect if everyone thought the same way. The streets would quickly become covered in litter, not because people deliberately wanted a dirty environment, but because they accepted it by walking past it. This principle applies to every area of life. In our personal lives, in our professional environments, and in society at large, the standards we allow are the standards we ultimately live by. If you want to raise the standards around you, it starts with the smallest of actions, refusing to walk past something that doesn't meet the standards you believe in. Setting personal standards before you can influence the world around you, it's crucial to set and maintain high standards for yourself. What you tolerate in your own behavior becomes a reflection of what you will accept from others. This includes your work ethic, your relationships, your health, and even your mindset. Work ethic: are you showing up every day with a commitment to excellence, or are you cutting corners because no one is watching? The standard you set for your own work will influence how others perceive and treat you. If you tolerate mediocrity in your own work, you'll likely accept it from others. Relationships: how do you allow others to treat you? The standard you accept in your personal relationships sets the tone for your overall happiness and fulfillment. If you allow disrespect or unkindness, you're signaling that it's okay to be treated that way. Health: what are your health standards? Do you prioritize your physical and mental well-being, or do you neglect it because it's easier to do so? Your health impacts every aspect of your life, and the standards you set for it will determine your quality of life. Mindset: do you allow negative thoughts to linger, or do you actively cultivate a positive and growth-oriented mindset? The way you think shapes your reality, and accepting a negative mindset can lead to a life of limitations. Setting high personal standards requires discipline and self-awareness. It's about consistently striving to be the best version of yourself, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. And the most powerful thing about setting high standards for yourself is that it inspires others to do the same. The ripple effect of high standards: when you refuse to walk past something that doesn't meet your standards, you set an example for others. This ripple effect can lead to significant changes in your environment and community. It starts small, picking up that piece of litter, speaking up when you see something wrong, holding yourself to a higher standard at work, but over time, these small actions accumulate into a culture of excellence. Consider a workplace where employees are used to cutting corners. Now, imagine one employee who refuses to accept this standard. They consistently go above and beyond, refuse to participate in gossip, and maintain integrity in their work. At first, this person might be seen as an outlier, but eventually, others start to take notice. Maybe they feel inspired, or maybe they feel challenged to raise their own standards. Slowly, the culture begins to shift, and what was once accepted as good enough is no longer tolerated. This isn't just about being a leader in the traditional sense, it's about leading by example. When you uphold high standards, you empower others to do the same. And when a group of people collectively refuses to accept mediocrity or unethical behavior, change happens. Challenging the status quo. There are times when walking past something that doesn't meet your standards isn't just about personal discomfort, it's about challenging deeply ingrained systems or societal norms. This is where the real power of this philosophy comes into play. Throughout history, meaningful change has often started with someone refusing to accept the status quo. From civil rights movements to innovations in technology, progress is driven by individuals who look at the world and say, "This isn't good enough." It's easy to think that one person can't make a difference, especially when the issues seem so large and entrenched. But every major change in history began with someone deciding not to walk past a problem. Whether it was Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat on a bus, or an entrepreneur refusing to accept that a certain technology couldn't be improved, change begins with the decision to act. This is where courage and conviction come into play. It takes bravery to stand up against something that everyone else has accepted. It can be uncomfortable, lonely, and even risky. But the impact of refusing to accept low standards can be transformative. The cost of accepting low standards. On the flip side, consider the cost of walking past standards that don't align with your values. Over time, accepting lower standards can lead to a gradual erosion of integrity, both personally and collectively. It starts small. Maybe it's accepting poor treatment in a relationship or turning a blind eye to unethical behavior at work. But as these small compromises accumulate, they can lead to a life, or a society, that's far removed from the ideals we once held. In the workplace, accepting lower standards can lead to a toxic culture, decreased productivity, and a lack of innovation. In relationships, it can lead to resentment, unhappiness, and even abuse. In society, it can lead to systemic injustice, inequality, and a loss of trust in institutions. When you accept low standards, you're not just compromising your own values, you're contributing to a culture that normalizes those standards. This is why it's so important to be vigilant about what you walk past. Every time you accept something that doesn't align with your values, you're making it harder to uphold those values in the future. The power of collective standards. While individual actions are powerful, collective standards are even more so. When a group of people comes together and agrees not to accept anything less than excellence, the results can be extraordinary. This is true in families, communities, organizations, and even entire nations. Consider a community where everyone agrees to keep their neighborhood clean, safe, and supportive. The standard of living in that community will be significantly higher than in a community where people ignore litter, tolerate crime, and neglect their neighbors. This isn't just about physical cleanliness, it's about the sense of pride, ownership, and responsibility that comes from collectively upholding high standards. In the workplace, teams that hold each other accountable to high standards consistently outperform those that don't. They innovate more, they communicate better, and they create environments where people want to excel. This is the power of collective standards. It's not just about one person striving for excellence, it's about creating a culture where excellence is the norm. How to raise the standards around you. So, how do you begin to raise the standards in your own life and in the lives of those around you? Here are some practical steps. Identify your values. Before you can raise standards, you need to know what you stand for. What are your core values? What do you refuse to compromise on? Take time to reflect on these questions and be clear about what matters most to you. Start with yourself. Hold yourself to the highest standards in everything you do. This means not cutting corners, staying true to your word, and consistently striving to improve. When you model excellence, others will take notice. Speak up. Don't be afraid to voice your concerns when you see something that doesn't align with your standards. This doesn't mean being confrontational, but it does mean being assertive and standing up for what you believe in. Encourage others, inspire those around you to raise their standards by acknowledging and encouraging excellence. When someone does something well, recognize it. When someone falls short, offer constructive feedback. Create a supportive environment, whether it's in your home, workplace, or community. Work to create an environment where high standards are supported and expected. This might mean setting clear expectations, providing resources, or simply fostering a culture of mutual respect and accountability. Be consistent. Raising standards isn't a one-time effort. It requires consistency. You need to be vigilant about what you walk past every day and committed to upholding your values in every situation. Conclusion: a call to action. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept as more than just a reminder to pick up that piece of trash or speak out against injustice. It's a call to action to take responsibility for the world around you, to hold yourself and others to the highest standards, and to refuse to settle for anything less than what you believe is right. In a world where it's easy to turn a blind eye, to say it's not my problem, or to wait for someone else to step up, this philosophy challenges us to be the change we want.